you go to these distribution sites, and then what do you see that moves you from this is incompetent to this is a horror and in no way should American taxpayers be associated with it?
That's a great question, because I was with the first, not amongst the first or one of the first. I was with the very first group that went into Gaza to do a site assessment of each of the distribution sites. No Americans had been to these sites yet, but they were already built and already established. So it was kind of like the, hey, we built the house for you, come get it. Mm-hmm. Not what was supposed to happen. We were supposed to have in-depth participation in the building and placement. Didn't happen. The IDF built them. I had my map. We're going to the locations. Prior to that, the Israeli Defense Forces had given us a brief on where they were conducting combat operations. Over 25 years in the Army, I've gotten pretty good at reading a map and looking at operational graphics. And when I saw where the sites were and I saw where the Israeli forces were operating, at first I couldn't believe it. I thought, maybe something's wrong. I'll wait when I get there. Because distribution sites 1, 2, 3, and 4 in central Gaza are all established within an active combat zone. So someone might say, well, all of Gaza is a war zone. Mm-hmm. I would disagree with that. But if we take that premise to be true, if all of Gaza is a war zone, there are certain areas where there is active combat operations. So particularly in the south, Operation Gideon's Chariots. Mm-hmm. It's an offensive operation the IDF are conducting as we speak. Mm-hmm. It's very violent. It's very aggressive. Tanks, infantry, rockets, missiles, artillery. And all 3 distribution sites in the south are directly in the middle of the primary engagement area of a combat zone. Again, a violation of the protocols of the Geneva Convention.
Because you're asking starving people basically to have to walk kilometers through an active combat zone, even to get to these distribution points.
Yes, we are deliberately establishing a service, water, food, medicine. We are deliberately establishing a service that is designated for civilians in an area that then forces them to go through an operational combat zone to get to it. Uh-huh. They were built that way. So when you see in the news and you hear about, oh, these things have become death traps, they were built as death traps from the very beginning.
How soon do you realize this?
Day one.
On the ground? Day one, you're on the ground.
I go to the site.
Yeah.
First, when we approach the site, and I'll remember this for the rest of my life as we're driving down the Philadelphia corridor heading towards the Mediterranean. Site number 1 is the furthest west. Uh-huh. The road that breaks off to it is near a place that used to be called the Swedish Hospital, which is now leveled, rubble. And as you take that right and you go towards the point, it's pretty open there. And as we approach the point, I can see that it's wrapped in what they call triple strand barbed wire, common in the military. It's not uncommon to see that to protect an area. But as we approached it, what stuck out to me almost instantly was that it wasn't barbed wire. It wasn't concertina wire, which is often used for obstacles. It was razor wire. Razor wire is specifically annotated in the Geneva Convention that it cannot be used to surround or protect an area that's designated for civilian use.
So tell us about, I know you've told this story before, but if you don't mind, our audience may not have heard it. Tell us about Amir and how this is sort of a breaking point for you. Yeah, we have a photo of that, and we also have some other images that you provided with our team with that we can put up on the screen.
So this young boy is Amir. I do not speak Arabic fluently, but I do know a couple key phrases. What's your name? How are you? Hello. Thank you. This is at distribution site number 2 on the 28th of May. The boy you see here, he was with the remaining of the group, what I call the 8 minutes of madness or the 8 minutes of mayhem. In the first opening minutes of distribution, a crowd of 8,000 to 9,000 people flood the site in one big wave. And within 8 minutes, 25,000 boxes of aid are gone. Mm-hmm. Children, women, the disabled, the needy, the vulnerable, they get nothing. So as you can see in his hands, he doesn't have a box of aid. He doesn't have a meal or a box. He picked those things up off the ground. Varying remnants of rice and beans. And as you can see in the first picture to the bottom right, he walks up to us, and I thought that maybe he was hurt or he was going to ask for more food or there was something wrong. But when he walked up and he extends his right hand to us, and he wasn't asking for anything. And myself and the other contractor standing next to me, we were like, come forward, and we kind of walked to him, and he reaches out. You see there, the first thing he did was reach out and kiss the gentleman next to me, kisses his hand, and then in the picture in the top right, that's my hand, where he kissed my hand. He came up to us and kissed our hands, and in Arabic culture, that's very significant. It's a very significant sign of respect. I then put my hand on his shoulder, on his left shoulder there, as you see, and I could feel the bones. I could feel his ribs. I could feel that his skin was tight, dehydration. I've felt that before. And the look of desperation in his eyes. And I put my hand on his shoulder and I said to him, I looked into that picture that I've taken, I took that picture, and we're looking in his eyes, and I'm looking at him, and the look on his face, and I tell him that, the world cares. That people in this world care about you, and you're not alone, and you won't be abandoned. And the items he had in his hand, he set them down, and I kneeled so I could see him, so I could look at him, and he sets his items down, and he seemed hopeful. And his hands, his small hands, this child is the age of my son, puts his hands on my face, and he kisses me, and he says, "Thank you," in English. Thank you. To me, that was a very touching moment, because in that moment, I felt hope. Does that little boy look like he had anything to do with the Hamas attacks on October 7th?
Right.
I would say no. He then went back to the rest of the group. The process on each site, the standard process that became inherited from this, we have no rules, so we're just going to do what the IDF do. And this is because of a lack of leadership. As the civilians then leave the exit, the standard practice was then spraying with pepper spray into the crowd for no reason, no hostility, just getting them to go. Like, hey, everybody's time to go, pepper spray, lobbing stun grenades. And these stun grenades are about the size of a softball, and when they explode, they emit rubber pellets and tear gas. They're not intended to be thrown into a crowd. The manufacturer's warning on these, they can say, do not use these unless you've been trained. Do not throw them at a crowd. No one was trained.
Who is doing this? Is it
UG Solutions contractors? We were the only ones that had them.
Okay.
On site, UG Solutions contractors are the only ones armed. The IDF are not on site.
Okay.
So stun grenades, pepper spray, and as they get to the gate, we then follow suit with the IDF with shooting warning shots at their feet, over their heads, into the berms to keep them going. The IDF have even said this in themselves, and there's IDF soldiers that have come out in the last week that have said, we have been ordered to fire warning shots as a crowd control method. Well, that's bingo. That's another war crime. Explicit in the Geneva Convention. So the UG Solutions contractors, with lack of guidance, just inherited that practice.
So they were also firing quote unquote warning shots.
Quote unquote warning shots, which I'd like to say that is a misnomer. Because a warning shot is a bullet. A warning shot is the same bullet you would kill somebody with. As they were leaving the site, IDF or UG Solutions contractors would shoot into the berms at the feet to keep them moving. In this particular instance, site number 2 is different than the rest of the sites. Site 4 is kind of on its own, open fields of fire. Site 1, Mediterranean, open fields of fire. Site 3, along Rafah, open fields of fire. Site 2 is set directly in the middle of Site 1 and 3, surrounded by berms on both sides because of the berms that are built up around Sites 2 and 3. So the exit to Site 2 is completely obfuscated by a berm to where the IDF that are east of the location that shoot down the Marag Corridor Road, skipping bullets, can't see this side of the berm. They can't see it from that angle. It's what you would call an intervisibility line. So as the Palestinians are leaving and we're shooting and throwing stun grenades and they're panicking and running, they're then, as they hit the Marag Corridor to the north and have to go left, have to go west to the coast, they're getting shot at the intersection as they may have communication to keep them to go left. I suggested early on, how about we try a sign? How about we put a sign out there that says left, or a bullhorn, or a speaker? That costs too much money. So as they're being herded to the left with these controlled firing of ammunition, and again, this isn't hyperbole or something that I've just dreamed up. The IDF themselves have come forward and said that they do it. There's video. There's video of it. So as they're going that way and the shooting happens, this is the first time I had experienced that. When we did distribution on Site 1 the day prior, the crowd rushed, we retreated, and there wasn't really much more than just a massive crowd that left. This was the first time I'd experienced that. So for me, as a combat veteran, when I hear machine gun fire and assault rifle fire in rapid succession, I think, oh, we're being attacked. So I run up to the southern berm and I get into position and I'm looking like, what's going on? And as these Palestinians are leaving the site, you just see them hunkering down. You see bullets off the sand, off the berm. And this is on video. It's captured. And bullets then flying into the crowd. And you can see the crowd ducking and jumping. And a 7.62 bullet kills.
Yeah.
And as the crowd rushes off and I'm looking, there are dead Palestinians and Amir's amongst them. This young child, old enough to be my son, and for any American out there, old enough to be your child, traveled 8 kilometers from Khan Yunis without shoes, without water, with pants being held up with a rope, and walked all the way down the coastal corridor to the Marag corridor, another 1.5 kilometers down the Marag corridor, and waited in the hot sun all day until the release was ready for them to run down. And then by the time he got there, he got nothing except some scraps. We had no water to give him because we weren't giving them water. Why didn't we give them any water? I asked that from day one. Because water costs too much because it's heavy and it costs more per load than it does for a box of food. It's indecent. So are Israeli Defense Forces committing war crimes? And I mean that war crimes by definition, not in a hyperbole or a phantasmatic reason of like, oh, war crimes. By definition, the Geneva Convention, international humanitarian law, laws and conventions that we are signatory to, violated just from where the sites are built, how they're built, the shooting of live ammunition at an unarmed civilian population to get them to move. It's verbatim. So are war crimes being committed? Yes.